Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode. I wanted to uh, focus on this idea called the logos spermatikos. The idea comes from Heraclitus, this Greek philosopher. The ancient Greeks perceived a sort of chaos to things, to the world order, to the origin of everything being chaotic at first. Now, the idea of the logos trying to think what analogy I could use. Guys, let me just search this, it's easier. See, the whole point of the logos was that it's an inner guiding voice. And this inner guiding voice was not just in a person, it was there in the universe. How things began and how they ended all was dependent on this uh, force. Now, that's the way I'm saying it. I want to find for you, there's a specific way. There we go. So logos alone is a term in Western philosophy, psychology, rhetoric, and religion derived from a Greek word variously meaning ground, plea, opinion, expectation, and whatnot. Here, guys, I found it. So the Greek philosopher Heraclitus, he says it was a force that brought order to primordial chaos. There we go. Here it says the presence of the logos in Western tradition appears to be what primarily distinguishes it from the Eastern tradition. The transformative, unifying logos was originally identified with fire. This connection persists in the tradition of pneuma or Holy Spirit. Heraclitus saw the logos as a dialectical principle connecting all opposites. This led to the idea that all opposition would eventually be consumed in an eschatological spiritual conflagration, an idea that shared with Hinduism, pretty much the fire burns of everything. The principal bifurcation in the West came about between those who view the logos as necessarily personal and those who do not. This is basically the distinction between religion and science. Alright guys, so pretty much there is, let's say, this force that is guiding things, guiding the meaninglessness of the universe, a collective, let us say, force. Now, if you want to establish a relationship with this collective force, with the logos, if it's personal, that has become religion. The personal relationship with the intelligence of the universe. And I would say science is the impersonal relationship. So what it is there's a lot of meaningless stuff in emptiness. This meaningless stuff in emptiness is moving. Now, as it's moving, there is a conscious viewer, and this conscious viewer is choosing to see it starting from it, the inner realms, or the outer realms. So pretty much if you feel truth is outside of you, it can't be a personal thing. If you think truth is within you, it can't be an external thing, can't be an impersonal thing. If I perceive truth to be something that is personal, then it's as if my eyes are a specific key to a specific door. I need these specific eyes to see the truth. But when the truth is impersonal, it moves beyond the boundary of the person. It moves beyond individualism. So it is all about how we are relating to the story of the world and how personal we are or impersonal we're perceiving the relationship of intelligence with existence. And you can say the attempt of the sciences has really been this to uh, impersonalize the truths of the world. And both are really needed. It's like pretty much the yin yang symbol just spinning in the middle of nowhere. So I would say, now that we have an idea from for the logos spermatikos, I can't even, spermatikos. There is something, there is a definition. Let me see if I can find this. It's not just a definition of the logos. It's in Wikipedia. Hold on, guys. It's not just in Wikipedia. It's also in the, what do you call it, encyclopedia. But there's a way it's defined that's useful. Okay, there we go. According to the Stoics, logos is the ordering principle in the cosmos, and logos spermatikos is the universe's generative principle, which both creates and then takes back all things. So you can say what's ordering things is, we say the logos. The logos is like the manager, and the logos spermatikos is like the owner of the business, the entrepreneur. Like the employer and then the employee, you know? Because we can't ignore, there is, Alan Watts was saying, many people think this universe is a republic, but it's actually a monarchy in accordance to how the nature of the forces of nature make things into a hierarchy. So logos, the ordering principle of the cosmos, logos spermatikos, the universe's generative principle, which both creates and then takes back all things. You know, there is this book, I forget, I think it was called Fractal Time. I don't know who wrote it, but in it there was this idea that in mathematics time can go backward. And the author had envisioned, what if that time goes forward, 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 and then rewinds? It reaches a point of just expanding, 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 then it just goes backwards. And everything we have done and lived suddenly goes back in time. Do you know? This could be an explanation of emptiness. That there is fullness, it comes, and it returns back. So it's strange. It's like we never know if the universe is going from a full state to an empty state, then a full state, or it's going from an empty state to a full state, then an empty state. So I would say the logos spermatikos is the full responsibility of the outcome of the universe going back to its source. The logos is like Vishnu, maintenance. The logos spermatikos is like Brahman and Shiva. So I would say when it comes to the title, are we in God's mind or is God in our mind? Our ancestors thought we were in God's mind. Now we're thinking that God is in our mind. Yet the concept of God, man, and every letter in the alphabet, it was out of the void declared. So there's three kind of answers. There is, are we in God's mind? A yes and no to that. Or is God in our mind? A yes and no to that. Or is the language limited? Could the language not do justice to the vastness of the dimensions of the question? To wonder about are we in God's mind, this is very intense because one can perceive it similar to Spinoza's God, which is the movement of everything. Or you can say even a God which we are the imagination of. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like you look at this picture I've chosen for the wallpaper. Now if I were to ask, are these characters who are watching the sunset, are you their imagination or are they your imagination? That means it's very easy to think. I mean, everybody who's written a story before, they've created a character out of nowhere. They've created a setting out of nowhere, with a spontaneous momentum to it. I mean, spontaneously being in moment. I am saying that if we visualize the character in a story, and that character in the story, after billions of years, became conscious and was aware that we were looking at it, are we in God's mind or is God in our mind? You can say, even a sort of strange response to the question would be, we are in God's mind until we can be in our own mind. It's as if it's an unknown force which comes across to the individual because we're referential as intelligence, right? Now this intelligence is nature. That means either nature is moving first, then man, or man is moving first, then nature. If think of it this way, as a division of self and world. Every person on this planet, they're a self and a world, you know? So if the self moves faster than the world, God is in your mind. If the world moves faster than the self, you're in God's mind, you're in nature's mind. And what it is that both are true. As we are looking at the sunset, so do in this picture our people, the characters are looking at the sun. So what does that mean? That's one thing we can know. Everything we have seen can be seen from higher angles. I remember when I was in Rishikesh, India, I was there for 2 months in this place called Niketan Ashram. And there was this yoga class there. And I remember the guy came in and he gave a story. He shared the story, and not a story, like this example about anger and rage. And he was saying, like, you can see someone in the traffic so angry, honking at the car in front of them, but there could be someone on the mountain looking at the same traffic jam and feeling nothing, feeling none of the sensations that the person who's getting irritated is. That means you can be in the same place, but based on your inner realms being more able, more adjustable than the outer realms, you don't have to receive the same moment in the same way. It is strange. Sometimes I feel we are under the impression as creatures to endlessly expect a certainty in the future. But actually, when we are uncertain in the present, the true future happens. If we asked Meister Eckhart this question, he would say, the same eyes I see God are the same eyes God sees me. He would say, you experiencing that you're in God's mind or God is in your mind is the same thing. It's the strange idea that we notice the idea of God is man-made, but then we asked ourselves, what if man made the idea of God, what made the idea of man? And that is the question. That is the real question. That the idea of man is man-made. Technically, it's hollow. The language we use is hollow in the sense that it's only experience that activates meaning through it. Ominous says when you try to get it, you push it away. In not getting it, you get it. You see, it's yeah. I agree with you, Ominous. Yes, yes. It's you don't chase the butterfly. You sit peacefully among the flowers, and the butterfly lands. That's wisdom. Technically, that's the wise way to live. But I'm saying that the inseparability of the situations of both sides means there is no good or bad. When we need good to have bad, when we need bad to have good, when we need the idea of unknown mind to have known body, and we need the idea of an object to have a subject. So you see, it's like there's a strange codependence. For me, it's as if, like, let's say the human being, let's not even call it a human being, let's say people are moments of intelligence. Now we've come to look at this intelligence. We are studying how it's becoming something, let's say the ontology of it. I would say before the concept of God, I wonder. I wonder about myself, what did I see? And there was nothing. That means before I learned language, the world was just sight. But when we are indoctrinated through language, it becomes more than sight. It becomes a simulated story of engagement. And there's nothing wrong with that, but just thinking you're that story, there's something wrong. You know? Okay, I'm back, guys, to continue. Yeah, where was I going with this? Yeah, the inseparability of the object and the subject. Swami Krishnananda says, um, meditation, there's no longer meditation stops when there is when you realize the inseparability of the individual activity and the cosmic activity. So it's like this situation where as easy it is to see everything be meaningless, it's as easy to see everything meaningful, and rather emptiness and what is full defining life. It's as if the whole thing has become a more mysterious witness phenomenon. Because if there was a chance that we were in the mind of a greater intelligence, think as if, like, again, your thought, you thinking of like a thought. Okay, I'll tell you something fascinating. Anybody who's listening, just remember a memory of yourself from your childhood. Now, as you are remembering this memory, let's say you've closed your eyes and you're trying to remember this memory of your childhood. As you're remembering that memory, imagine you from that memory, that version of you from that memory, looking at the you who's remembering it now. It would be that's what I'm trying to point to in this talk. That either the individual has to chill and the collective has to move, or the collective has to chill and the individual has to move. Because really, we're just creatures in the middle of nowhere. Chaos and order is technically attitudes. When the realm is chaotic, behavior is different. When the realm is ordered, the behavior is different. When the person steps into walks in a safe neighborhood, you have a good feeling. When you walk in a dangerous neighborhood, you're like an eagle. You're like your attention's everywhere. So we can say there's three dimensions to life. There is the known good, okay? And there is the known bad, and then there is just the unknown. So technically, what is knowing knowledge cannot know itself as knowledge. Cannot. It's a way of saying, like, the artist is not the brush, the painter is not the brush. Us thinking we are knowledge is like the painter thinking it's artwork. I feel that when we feel God is in our mind, we're considering the known, what is known in the realm, as in the causal position. That means the known came first, then the unknown becomes secondary. So everybody's trying to know things and nobody cares about what they don't know. You know. What I mean by that, let me rephrase. The unknown, you can't give it anything, you can't take anything. The unknown is just unknown. It's literally like, what does the number on the calculator say? There's no number. Nothing has been inputted yet. It's unknown. The calculator has not calculated yet. It's that unknown position. Then there's the calculator calculating, which then it falls into duality. Okay, so guys, I actually need an intermission. I'm gonna make this part one, and I'll be back for part two. So thanks for listening for now. Blessings.